Hi, this is Donna. Welcome to DD Paper Crafts. In today's video, I'm going to show you three very simple versions of a matchbook style gift wrap. The first version is just basically this wrap which has got apertures in which you will size for your particular gifts, and this was sized for a couple of Disney Princess lip balms. So they will sit in the side like so, and the top will come across and the front comes down, and you can obviously choose whatever type of closure system you want for your particular box. So that's version 1. Version 2 is the same with the apertures in, however this one has sides so that the gift is completely concealed. And the last version, if you don't have or don't want to make apertures, this has the sides, but this one has a divider inside to divide up your gifts as necessary. They're three very simple wraps to put together, so let's get started. We'll start by making the most simple matchbook style box, and this is the version which will have the apertures in the top for your gift and doesn't have any sides on it, like so. The first thing you'll need to do is ascertain the height and the width of your gift. You want the width of your box to have a space on the left and the right hand sides, however many apertures, and then a space in between each aperture. The length of the cardstock you're going to need is going to be determined then by the depth that you're going to need for your apertures and also the height that you're going to need. You might find that depending on what you're going to put in it, you need to deconstruct the piece. So just decide then whether you want to have your two pieces joining together maybe on the inside of the base here, for instance, or you might want to have them so that the piece joins here, for instance. Because of the height of this gift, which is just under 3 inches, I can get my piece out of one length of A4 cardstock.
To determine your starting cardstock, you'll start with a 1/2 inch glue tab.
And this is the glue tab, which is just inside here, which is going to join the aperture section to the back of the box. You'll then have the depth of your aperture section here, so that will be based on the depth of your gift and the size of your apertures, plus a section at the front and the back. The front of your box, which is this section here, and I've created my front so that it is half
Of the overall height of the box.
This is 3 inches, therefore this section is 1.5 inches. Then you'll add on the width or the depth of the base, and that will be the same as your measurement here in number 2 for the apertures. Then you'll have your back, which is for the height of your gift. The top of the box is going to be the same as numbers 2 and 4, and then you'll have your front flap. So that's this section here which comes down. Now I started by making the front flap the same as the back, and then depending on the type of closure you want to have, you may then decide you want to reduce the length of this particular section. So for my particular box, which is going to be 3 inches by 3 inches, my cardstock's 11 inches, and I've scored at half, 1.5 to allow for my gifts, 3, which is half of the overall back section, 4, which is the same as section 2, 7, which is the overall height of the gift, 8, which is the same as sections 2 and 4, and then I've got my last 3-inch section. Once I've scored, I would cut my apertures into section 2, either by hand or using my dies, and then fold and burnish all of the score lines. And then all we're going to do is add our glue or our tape onto this glue tab here. Then we're going to fold up the glue tabs, the section which will have the apertures, and what will be the front of the box. And I'm just going to fold the glue tab under like so. Make sure the sides of the box stay flush, and that aperture section will now be in place like so, and the lid will come down and your gifts are obviously going to be stuck inside. So that will give you something like this, which you can then add any decorative paper or add your type of closure on. So that is this style of box or wrap in its simplest form. The second version of the box is this one. Again, this has the apertures, but this one has sides. The length of your cardstock will be the same, and you'll calculate the length exactly the same way as we calculated the length for this one. The difference will be the width of your cardstock, and that will be again the width to accommodate the width that you need for your gifts here. And then in addition, you will add on the equivalent to the width that you needed here for pieces 2, 4 and 6. So whatever depth you needed to fit your gifts in, you'll add either side to the width that you need for your piece, here and here, and then I've added on 1/4 of an inch, and the 1/4 of an inch creates the wrap sides which come around to secure the piece. This is going to be 5.5, so 3, 4, 5 plus 1/4 plus 1/4. Along the long side you will score exactly as we did for this piece here. So your apertures will go in this section here, if that's what you're having for this particular style of box. You'll then fold and burnish in exactly the same way. If you start with the 1/2 inch section in front of you, we're basically going to cut away everything like so, this side. This is the side and the front seam which is going to wrap around, attached to what is the back of the box. So we can also completely cut away this section here and here. And we want to make sure in these cut lines here, we keep these as straight as possible, because this is the edge which is going to be seen on the front and the top of the box. So this is going to be these lines here. So we're now going to cut away everything which is marked with a cross. Once again, we're going to add our tape onto the 1/2 inch section, and we're going to pull up the 1/2 inch, the aperture section, and what's the front of the box. And that is going to glue in like so. We'll construct this, make this part of the box the same as we did when we made this version in the last video. So the glue tab is under there, and that is going to create the aperture section and the front of the box. I'll add glue on this front section here and here, and then all we're going to do is pull up the sides and wrap the front, lining up the bottom edge with the bottom of the box, and that is going to sit and come around like so to form the sides of the box. And then you can obviously adjust the length of the front flap if you so wish and add your chosen closure. That is going to give you something which looks like this. You can see all I've done is I've rounded off the corners of the flap. I've left it the same length, and I've just added a hook and loop dot onto the front. And the final version, version 3, this works on the basis that you're not going to have the section that is going to have the apertures, but you are going to add a divider in to separate your gifts, and you are going to have sides to the box. So in terms of the width of the cardstock, you'll calculate that exactly the same way as we did in the second version. So we've got our edge, which comes round like so, this section here, which I've made as 1/4 inch. You've got your side pieces, which is the depth of the box that you need, the width of the box, the depth again, and then another side piece. The difference with this particular one is in terms of the length of the cardstock that you need, because what you don't need is the allowance for the aperture piece and the glue tab. So I've been able to reduce the cardstock by 1.5 inches. So that's given me a piece which is 9.5 inches long, which I've then scored at 1.5 for the front flap, 2.5 to incorporate the base, 5.5 to incorporate the back, 6.5 to incorporate the top, and the last section is for the front. Fold and burnish this in exactly the same way. We're now going to do our cutting, and once again we're going to remove everything which is marked with a cross. So this section here is going to provide the sides which wrap around. So everything else can be cut away. That will come together like so. Now what I did want to do with this particular box is, because I didn't want to have apertures for my cars, so I've put in a divider. My piece is 2 inches by 2 inches, and the size of your divider is going to be the height of the front flap, which in my case is 1.5 inches, plus 1/2 inch for a glue tab. So I'm going to score that at 1.5. Rotate, and on this side the divider needs to be the depth of the box, so the same width as the base and the top, which in my case is 1 inch, plus 1/2 inch glue tab at either side. So I'm going to score at 1/2, leave the depth of the box and score at 1.5. So this is my piece. Fold and burnish. We're going to cut away the bottom left and right hand squares like so, and then I'm going to take a slight wedge from the ends of all of these glue tabs. But what's going to happen is this glue tab here is going to be attached to the back of the box like so, and this glue tab is going to face in the opposite direction and is going to attach to the front of the box like so. I'm going to put the divider in place before I glue the rest of the box together. So we'll have glue on the base, and obviously you will make however many dividers you need, and you will position them where you need them on the inside of the box. So you might, for instance, want to put one of your items in the box so you can work out where your dividers need to sit. You might want to measure the inside and mark with a pencil. So this divider, for instance, would go here. I'm going to line up the bottom edge of the score line up with the base of the box like so. Make sure it's stuck in parallel and vertical. I'm then going to lift up the base of the box. Again, make sure it's staying vertical. If you move it upright, that will help. So that's now stuck in the base and the back. And then I'm going to pull over the front section to secure the last remaining side of the divider into place. So you can see that's now got the divider in. If you're having multiple dividers, I would stick the back in on all of them, then pull up the base on all of them, and then stick the front on all of them, rather than trying to put one whole divider in one at a time. And then all we will do is we'll add glue on to this section here and this section here, as we did with box number 2. And then this is going to come around as box number 2, and you can see, although mine isn't in the middle, it's got the divider for the gift, like so. So that's a slightly different version to the last box, and certainly if you don't have the means of cutting any apertures, that's one way you can create the same style of box. So I'm just bringing the 3 styles just as a reminder. So we've got our one box which doesn't have the sides, which wraps around like so, a second box which has the apertures in place and the sides, and the last version which has the sides but has a divider. So very quick and easy projects to put together, and I hope that I managed to explain how you need to calculate what size cardstock you need to start with. So there we have today's projects. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing to the channel, and until next time, thanks for watching.